So we were thinking about making an impact. I'm going to time this too. One of the areas we talked about in terms of making an impact was distinctive being. Two areas for that. One was about being visible, wearing the profession cross visibly, wearing the brand stuff. Jamie's modelling quite a lot of it at the moment. Being visible. But we also talked, in terms of distinctive being, about living simply. And as the Quakers would say, letting our lives speak through how we are and how we live. So that might be about food and money and clothes and the cost to us of living simply. And we were clear that between those two things, being visible and living simply, that distinctive symbols are important but secondary to distinctive living. In terms of support for that, we see that coming from local groups, in terms of our mutual accountability for our discipleship and our prayerful listening to the Holy Spirit. But we think that chapter could help by enabling articles in little portion about the lives of tertiaries and their distinctive living, and indeed their distinctive action too. And we thought there might be an Assisi book that could be written on distinctive living and simplicity, living simply. So distinctive being, area one. Area two was distinctive action. Here we were moving into two other areas of our charism. If we've been talking about simplicity, we were talking more here about love and making Christ known and being joyful. But we weren't so good at articulating those aspects of our charism. We were less explicit about that. But in terms of distinctive action, we were thinking particularly of local action. We were looking to others for models of that, people like Citizens UK, Citizens Cymru, with whom I've had some connection. And we saw particularly the importance of connecting up local action. So what a third order group here is involved in needs to be connected up with the rest of the order. What happens in this place involving one tertiary needs to be connected with a group, with the area, with the province. We think chapter has a particular role here in terms of communication at national level. For instance, about speaking of this, about the scandal of food banks, for instance. So, distinctive being, distinctive action, and then we had an awful lot of stuff that was about communication of both action and being. We thought in terms of there being two key audiences for our communication. Actually, three, because there's us, and then there's the church, churches, plural, we are an ecumenical organisation, and the public square. And the communication with church and public square is different in feel and mode. So the church, it's about the visibility of the order, both nationally and locally. For instance, making sure that local church leaders know about us as an order, as well as individuals. The public square stuff, we felt, needs distinctive material that communicates our Franciscan vision in public spaces, and that we can share with a different language that makes sense to the public who aren't necessarily members of our churches. So there's a chapter role there in terms of distinctive material for that public communication. We thought quite a lot about how we communicate, and we recognise that we need multimedia communication more than we've got at present. We talked about Facebook a lot, although I'm aware that Facebook is becoming a bit passé, actually, in terms of online communication. We need to be aware of that and not go with yesterday's fashion. We think that chapter ought to conduct a communication review and identify a strategy for communication at all levels and with church and public square. In that, we felt that it was really important that the order speaks with one voice in the different layers, so that chapter province speaks with the same voice as we speak with at area level, at local level, and individually. It's not about being on a single message. We're not the Labour Party, even if they did have a single message, which they don't. But it's important that it's a coherent voice within the order as a whole. So, just to sum up then, we thought in terms of making an impact about living simply, both being visible and actually doing the living simply. We thought about distinctive action, and we thought a lot about communication of both those things, and the kind of holistic approach to communication that we need. And some of that communication needs to be amongst us. We need internal communication as well as external.
Thank you very much indeed.